town of Guildford has a long-standing connection with the famous television artist Tony Hart, so it was appropriate that an exhibition of some of Tony's artwork was recently held at the Guildford House Gallery. Tony graced our television screens from 1952 until 2000, and his most famous shows, Vision On, Take Heart and Heartbeat, became essential viewing for generations of children. A regular feature of Tony's shows was the gallery, which displayed paintings, drawings and collages sent in by young viewers. But here in Guildford House, this time it's Tony's creations that adorn the gallery. Shortly before the exhibition opened, we caught up with Tony's daughter, Carolyn, and also with Lynn Sigenda, who was in charge of putting on the exhibition of Tony Hart's work.
I was delighted with Tony Hart's work when I was a child, so there'll be people of my generation who would love to see that. They'll be nostalgic about it, but it's bringing it to a new audience as well. There are going to be lots of pictures in this exhibition which people will single out as their favourites and ooh and ah over and think very happily about their own childhood.
It's a wish really to share some of Pa's work with people who watched him for all those years, and to get an idea of his enormous diversity. Because many people will remember, of course, the drawings where he would make them out of anything, any bit of old rubbish or fruit or vegetable or whatever. Also the cartoons people are very familiar with as well, but there were the portraits as well, and very different styles of drawing that people perhaps don't know. You weren't aware that he could do that. There is a portrait of my mother that Pa actually made the portrait. It would have been around the mid-80s, but it was taken from a photograph that was taken in the 60s, and there's a kind of a 60s psychedelia feel to it, which is rather nice. There's also my grandmother. That was a portrait painted in pastels, and she was 93 at the time, so that's very lovely. There's a portrait of Will, my children's father, and he's in oils, looking very piratical and slightly sinister, but we love that one. And there's me, aged 8, a watercolour. So yes, we're all there, which is great. I think the little clown, the little pastel clown, is a particular favourite because, again, that's something that is not really in Pa's style. It's a little bit unusual. There's something almost Burton-esque with the eyes of this little clown. But I love his soft pastel colours, and he's against that black background, and he's just gorgeous. So yes, I like the little clown.
But it's not only Carolyn who loves the little clown. Her son Alistair has drawn inspiration from his grandfather's creation too. It's true. The artistic gene seems to have been passed on to my son. He draws pretty well, but his vocation seems to be in animation and 3D, and so he took the little clown and animated him, and it's just lovely. Very pleased. Lynn's favourite exhibit is a sequence of 3 pictures demonstrating a man at work in South Africa on a Sunday morning.
They stood out for me because I didn't expect it. I was used to seeing the Tony Hart work, which was fast and furious and exciting and spontaneous, but these are very thoughtful, contemplative pieces, and they really struck a chord with me.
My dad had such a wonderful, diverse life, and so many silly and fun and lovely things happened to him throughout his lifetime, that I wanted to share that with the world as well. And so it took a couple of years, but I wrote his biography, which takes him from a choir boy at All Saints Margaret Street in London, right the way through school, the army. He was out in India for a couple of years during 1945-46, and all sorts of nonsense happened to him out there. And then into television and his break, and how all that happened, and right through to the end. So yes, it's a cheerful piece, I think. The pastel drawing at the end was the first sketch of a lakeside view. The actual original is in the Lake District somewhere, but he took that sketch and created the monochrome design there. Then he took it a step further to create this wonderful coloured piece, which is not just paint, but it's powder paint mixed up with plaster of Paris. So you get this wonderful texture in there and the raised edges, and he pushed it all about using a bit of cardboard to create the design. Then he painted it with acrylic and then varnished it, and so you have this fabulous coloured fantasy castle by a lakeside. And this is so par, because it's just made out of bits of everything. There's corrugated cardboard, there's string, there's plastic mesh, there's everything he happened to find. But it belongs with these two because it's following these same undulating curves and the same circular something in the sky. I think that was actually an old crisp top or something like that that he used for the circular symbol there. But yes, the three belong very well together, very, very similar in style. People are beginning to understand that my father designed the Blue Peter logo. For years and years, nobody knew that. It was a little known fact. But what we've got here is the very first artwork of the logo that was sent off to the Radio Times for its very first appearance. This was back in 1963. We can see from the artwork that it was due to be shown on a Monday, but more than that we can't really say.
And of course, no exhibition would be complete without this little creature.
More fuss than bother, I think, is what my father always used to say about him. Yes, Morph is here too, just keeping an eye on everything for us.
And surprisingly, although Tony created two of TV's greatest icons, there has yet to be a television show celebrating his life.
The thing about Pa that I think sets him apart from most of the people is that the huge range of ages he appealed to. People who today are in their mid-20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, even their 60s, all knew who Pa was. And so there's this wide audience who I think would just love to see that. Yeah, certainly.
Well, the work here demonstrates how diverse art is, and that anybody really can be an artist, because it isn't just about traditional skills in fine art. You can express yourself in a variety of different ways, different media, and art is for everybody, and I think Tony Hart was a great proponent of that philosophy.